So, welcome, beloved community, to this conversation on a very powerful mystical process that is called surrender. And surrender is really a sign of maturation of our consciousness. And this is a beautiful process where we being taught by our higher self how to move through our reality in a new way. So this is the topic that I would love to dive in and channel whatever spirit wants to channel. And just in a few words, if you and I meeting for the first time, and maybe this is the first time you see me or hear me, my name is Katerina Satori, and my life is devoted to wisdom. I even have it tattooed on my arm because this is how wisdom is important to me. And the wisdom is different from knowledge. Knowledge is power, wisdom is bliss. So I'm devoted to living a blissful life and sharing what actually helps to create a blissful life with others. I am a student of ancient mysteries, and I've been on a spiritual path for quite some time, working with shamanic visionary plants, studying with elders, traveling to the power places. And whenever I receive an insight or epiphany or illumination, I can barely wait to share with my community. And this is why Mystical Mondays exist. On a Monday, I share deeply spiritual topics that can uplift us and give us a new vibrational set point to meet what this week will bring us with a new sense of lightness, with a new sense of trust in our heart, with a new sense of devotion, right? Because as one of my favorite authors, Richard Rudd, who I quote a lot, he brought us incredible body of work that's called The Gene Keys. Richard Rudd said this beautiful phrase: it doesn't matter what happens in our life. What matters is how we handle it. What matters is how we face it. What matters is how we receive it. So in this transmission, I'm going to open up and give a bird eye perspective on the process of surrender, or the stage of surrender that will eventually come to us. If you are a sincere seeker of truth, the stage of surrender is inevitable. And it's a beautiful experience when we can learn what's the purpose, what is here to teach us, right? And I'm also going to offer you one key phrase, anchoring phrase, or as I call the mantra, that you can walk through this week and play with it and see how it feels, because what we declare takes form, because we speak and we create. And maybe some personal stories that will come through. So I'm so happy to be with you. And when we talk about surrender, let's talk about the milestones in the expansion of our consciousness, right? So again, Richard Rudd brought this perspective, and I'm quoting him again, where he defined it as a 3 stages of evolution of our consciousness in one lifetime, right? The first stage is survival. And survival is where we all start, right? Because when we take on incarnation and we get birthed through the birth canal of our mama, and we take on a new body, what happens, all of our soul memories get wiped clean, and it is happening by design, right? So we don't remember our past lives, we don't remember our past incarnations for a reason, because we desire to experience something new. We desire to try a new role in this divine theater, in divine play. So we willingly choose to accept the great forgetting that comes with taking on the body. In the first 21 years of our life, we are really focused on our physical experience, right? We're rediscovering the planet, we're rediscovering that we have a body, and all of those amazing things. And then around, late 20s, a lot of us go through our first spiritual crisis that some people go earlier than that, some people go later than that, but it's inevitable. when the soul begins to awaken, right? And through the process of dark night of the soul, or some kind of a external event that shake us to the core, and we begin to search deeper truth. And that's where the arrival of next stage comes. And it's a stage called service. Because once our heart opens to our soul, our heart begins to opening, we begin this incredible shift from a self-centered living that was all about our individual survival and what is it here for me. We begin to actually feel this genuine desire to give back to others. And we begin to have this curiosity about, well, what is it? What is it about? Can I serve others? Can I offer my gifts? And this is a big stage in our life when we step on this process of self-mastery, right? Self-development, opening up our ability to create with our mind and express and live more congruent lives. The last stage, or the third stage, right? And life is not linear. I would like to say that. Life is not linear. Life is actually moves as a spiral. So let's just say we went through survival, we activated our consciousness to the level of service, and now we are at the new threshold. And this is a stage of our, or a level of our consciousness that is called surrender. And surrender, I am going to read you this beautiful quote from my beloved teacher and elder, Ariel Spilsbury. This is how she describes surrender: giving up the resistance of the mind to what is, a leap into the void, a severance of infancy. Surrender is a cultivated attitude of wakefulness to the divine directives within you. Surrender is not giving up or giving over. It's a radical reliance on the divine self within you. A radical reliance on the divine self within you. You see, in the stage of service, in the second stage of evolution of our consciousness, we are learning to use our willpower. And it's a very necessary stage, because without the willpower, without an ability to see something through and not get distracted, not get swayed away by our emotional moods, the willpower is a key development on the path of true spiritual seeker. So that's usually on the stage of service. We develop our willpower, we develop our concentration, we develop all our spiritual practices that actually prepare us for the next stage of surrender. Because how do you know you're being invited to that stage? Well, the first sign that I personally notice is that things that used to work for you stop working. The way you were calling in your opportunities, the way you were manifesting, the way you were getting things done, all of your tools, all of the things that used to hold a certain power for you suddenly lose that power in a way. And it is because your higher self desires to take you to a new level of consciousness. So we human beings can access, while being in the physical body, we can access up to 9 dimensions of consciousness. Yes, we can go higher, but let's just stay with 9 dimensions. And at every dimension, the rules of this game are different. The spiritual laws become more and more unique in the way you engage with them. That's why when you anchor your 5th dimensional consciousness of oneness, unity, right? Living as a part of the whole and not as individual I, 3rd dimensional space, you become curious about spiritual laws. You become curious about, well, what are those universal laws that I keep hearing about? You're diving into higher and higher levels of wisdom because you understand, you begin to create your reality from a completely different space. So we'll start there. Wow, went really fast. Are you still with me? I'm going to check the comments. Hi, loves. Are you still with me? How's the sound? Just a little check. Yes, you love you. Do you resonate with this topic, beloveds? So maybe this is the time for a little storytelling. My very first conscious surrender happened in the year 2015. Sound is great? Yes. Year 2015, beloveds. 2012, lots of light workers got a signal from their higher self to get up, step up, and prepare for the soul mission, for your true calling, for your true assignment. So year 2012 was a very powerful call for the light workers. 2013, exactly the same. 2015, lots of things were shifting and changing. We were being prepared for our life's calling, our spiritual mission. And I remember for me, it was a very conscious ceremony or a ritual of surrender. And it was like organic desire of my heart to give my life over to my higher self, into the great spirit that is guiding my higher self. And what it looked like, it was a cry of my soul. It was a cry of my soul to be guided by something so much bigger than my human mind. No matter how intelligent and capable that mind can be, the human mind cannot see beyond the matrix, beyond the Maya, because it's a part of the Maya. So this is why spiritual surrender is such a liberating experience, because you're inviting the vision of your higher self that is outside of this physical reality, that is non-local, to be channeled through you. And you say, I willingly accept, I willingly let go of my control, and I choose to be guided by something deeper than my human mind. If you have had that experience, then you know how radically your life changes after that. It's the same as when you drink plant medicine. You know, I've been working with visionary plants such as ayahuasca for over 13 years. And I always say, do not drink that medicine if you're not willing to radically change your life. Right? Right? So, but if you're willing to radically open yourself up to the joy and bliss and transformation and to your true potential, sit with the plant medicine. So it's a very, very similar process. And if you haven't done the process of surrender, I encourage you to really tune into it. If your heart is ready, a simple ritual of you lighting a candle and imagining connecting to a bigger part of you, your higher self. Maybe you can write a letter to your higher self, whatever will come to you intuitively, trust that. For me, it was literally getting on my knees and saying, Spirit, now you lead. Now I am in service to your directives. I am in service to your plan. And you know, my everyday prayer right now, because to me, the prime creator is actually a goddess. It's a divine mother. So my every prayer in the morning, Divine Mother, thank you for a new day. Today is going to be beautiful. And I am in service to you. What is your creative vision for today? Every single morning, that is the prayer, and that's a communication that I establish. Now, beloveds, with the surrender, when you enter, when your consciousness is ready to walk this mystical path, right? It's a very mystical path. And what is the essence of walking a mystical path? Well, the number one quality, you see your external reality as alive, as conscious, as constantly communicating. So the way I see it, the empty space that is around me, that looks like air, through the mystical eyes, you begin to see that this empty space is filled with information. It's filled with light. You're surrounded by the quantum field that is just brewing with all kind of data, right? That is encoded in the language of light, in the light language, in the spiritual information. This is why all spiritual traditions will guide us back to learn to still the mind, learn to go into the void that is within you, because then you will begin to plug in into this universal network that has all the information that is required for you to take the next step. Right? This is how different the surrender, this is why it is a true sign of maturation of your consciousness. So when I offer, when people say, Katerina, I'm struggling, or I'm going through a hard time, and usually my counsel after I'm tuned into their field, right? My counsel is practice this as your curriculum of accepting what is with an open heart. And perfection of that process is not required. If you accept even just a moment, and then you accept another moment, and you accept another moment. The phrase that I'm going to offer you, my favorite phrase, when something unexpected comes my way, when something challenging comes my way, my instant response as I trained myself to respond is this: thank you for this curriculum. Thank you for this curriculum. I accept, and I'm willing to receive this lesson. Really, really powerful, beloveds, because there are two traps of the egoic mind that can make us feel stuck in a situation, right? And I'm going to name just two. And this is a very common human condition of egoic mind, that the moment you become aware, next time you know how to shift it. The first trap is a human tendency to blame. So whenever we blame, whether ourselves, that sounds like I should have known better, I should have done differently, I should have, right? Or this is not fair, why it's coming to me, why is it happening? Blame, 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 blame. Blame, if you look at the frequency scale of consciousness, blame is all the way on the bottom. So when we blame, we drop our vibration, we lower our frequency, and from a lower frequency, we cannot access the creative potential of the situation. Right? Again, I'm going to bring up an example of Richard Rudd, because, I love Richard Rudd. I just love everything that he brought with so much tenderness and so much wisdom and so much compassion, right? So again, if you're struggling in a difficult situation, it's not about beating yourself up or pushing away the situation, right? That's not going to solve anything. What I invite you to play with is to shift into gratitude. Thank you for this curriculum. I don't understand why it's coming to me right now. And I doubt and I feel vulnerable right now because I don't know if I'm capable to really move through this. But what I can do, I can say thank you for this curriculum. Do you feel the difference, beloveds? This will shift so much in your lives if you train yourself to have an attitude of gratitude. This is a cliche, I know, right? But your gratitude opens up an understanding. Gratitude and resistance to what is cannot be at the same moment. So how do you transform the resistance that may come up? It's by shifting into gratitude and saying to yourself, thank you for this curriculum. And the harder the challenge, the bigger is the opportunity that lies with it. Actually, the challenge and the solution always arrive together. Always. The quantum universal law, the challenge and the solution come together. When we are in fear or panic or worry, our mind begins to become separate and only focus on the challenge. And we cannot see the solution, even if it's in front of us. This is why the point of, thank you for this curriculum. I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to wait here. I'm going to connect to my higher self and I'm going to listen. Maybe I'll journal, because that's how I access my higher self differently, right, beloveds? So this was a game changer for me, because I am not a stranger to big trials in life. And actually, when you walk a path of spiritual initiation, right, the mystery school level path, these cleansing, purifying experiences come your way even more often. Why? Because when you walk the path of service to the whole, you understand you're part of the whole, and you develop maturation of your consciousness, your higher self will begin to give you a bigger assignment. Such as, you have done a lot of shadow work, but let's do the shadow work not only for yourself, but for your ancestral line and for your collective that you're part of. So, but again, beloveds, during this surrender stage, when you recognize what's happening, you go through these cycles several times, you begin to recognize the surrender stage is an invitation to rebirth. Right? When I quoted Ariel Spilsbury when she said, it's a leap into the void, severance of infancy. Let's break that down. Especially severance of infancy. What is she referring to is infancy as a state of consciousness. You know, we all have an infant in us that can demand things to be the way the infant in us wants to be, right? So the severance of that, severance of looking for a reason, severance of impatience, or severance of distrust to the process of life. That's what she's referring to, severance of infancy. And stepping into the maturation of our spiritual path, where we've gathered enough tools, we've been enough experiences where we say, wow, life can truly be trusted, and I'm being invited to access a new level of consciousness, a new level of being, which is a beautiful. So when challenge comes your way, I invite you to celebrate it. This can feel counterintuitive, but remember, on the mystical stage of surrender, everything that made sense to you before takes on a completely new meaning, because you're accessing your life from a 5th dimension, 6th dimension, 7th dimension, 8th dimension, 9th dimension. And what about leap into the void? Leap into the void. I remember my very first void was in the year 2017. 2016 was like, a year of courage. I took the biggest risks in my online business. I stepped up in my leadership. I stopped hiding. I just went all in, right? And reaping the rewards of all that courage. 2017 comes and I'm finding myself, all of the strategies that worked for me in 2016 just suddenly do not have energy, do not have any momentum, do not have forward motion. And my human mind, it was frightening for it. Absolutely, because I was watching all of whatever was presenting a form of stability in my life in 2017 was just crumbling down, crumbling down, crumbling down. And it was very uncomfortable to sit in that and to watch things crumble and not to blame myself or the situation, but to watch it. And what I was receiving, the transmission was the old way of doing things and the old ways of being must die for a new level of consciousness to be born through you. And that was my first experience of discovering the void, right? And the void is this space of emptiness that the first time you enter can be very disorienting to the ego mind. Your soul knows the void, right? So now when the void comes, I celebrate that. I go to the void every time my moon cycle arrives. That's a mini void for 3 days. We die on the day 1, shamanic death. We go through the process of a complete rewiring of our nervous system if we truly allow that process, right? So every moon cycle, there's a void that I'm deeply looking forward to every month. To shed like a snake, the old skin, to come out with this new way of being. And if somebody who is listening, my beloved women who you do not have your moon cycle anymore, you can align yourself to the full moon, right? The full moon is your new moon cycle in a way. So, beloveds, the void is the velvety womb of Divine Mother. When people ask me, Katerina, how do I connect to the Divine Mother? And the way I see it, beloveds, and many mystical sages, and such as Aurobindo, who wrote the Divine Mother, really illuminated hearts and mind. They saw cosmos and the universe as a one great cosmic womb, right? So now micro level, our higher self begins to give us these void experiences so we become still enough. Become still enough for the process of the rebirth. Now, the first couple of times in the void, the reason why they come to us is because, first of all, the higher self wants us to pay deeper attention. Right? And since the biggest challenge for the Western person is to slow down, right? We are addicted to doing. Our self-worth is so tied in to how much we produce. So there's very little time for stillness and contemplation and for reflection. So the higher self uses the void to disrupt that robotic way of being and to say, okay, now it's time for some deep rebirth. And I'm going to remove all of these distractions from your life that looks like, wow, suddenly nothing is working in my life. It's an invitation. It's like a personal invitation from your higher self to enter a deep, deep space within. However you enter that, beloveds, usually when I am in the void, and now you know what we're gonna share with you. My voids right now, they are not dramatic at all. My higher self doesn't need to remove things out of my life to make me pay attention. I've got the lesson, and this is why I desire for you to see the gradual experience. The first void is the most disorienting. You're like, what is happening in my life? My life is upside down, right? The second time, the third time, you're like, oh, I've been here before. My higher self is asking me to enter stillness. Pay attention. I'm about to go through metaphorical death and the rebirth. So, beloveds, this is a very, very powerful. They become less dramatic because you learn not to resist. You learn not to fight your experience. You basically, the power of the surrender chapter is you are given the curriculum that is called unconditional trust in life, in the process of life. What a powerful lesson for all of us to learn, and not from the intellect, not as a concept, but as an embodied knowing. No matter what comes my way, I have the strength, I have the wisdom, and I have my ability to trust this process of life. If you look at nature, right? Nature is our greatest teacher. Everything in nature goes through the process of death. And everything in nature goes through the process of rebirth. Every winter and every spring. We are a part of nature, right? So these cycles, again, this is a cycle of life that invites us to surrender the old identity, to surrender our old thinking that our safety lays in something physical, right? And these experiences will continue to show up until we master the lesson. I'll give you an example with relationships, right? Let's talk about relationships. Wow, right? How do we know that we transcended the pattern in relationships? You know that karmic pattern where you choose to fall for the same inappropriate type of a partner. Inappropriate meaning they're not suitable for you, they're not aligned for you. You are not, your temperaments are different, where you at in life are different, right? But you keep just rolling into the same experience. Can be very disheartening until you learn to laugh at that. And you say, wow, okay, I'm back in this experience again. Let me see what's the other piece of this pattern that I get to solve, I get to see, transform it, transform it, transform it. The only way we know we transformed a pattern is that we see we make new choice. We're not pulled in a situation because we transformed it. So beloveds, a mystical chapter of surrender is beautiful because you're learning to create your life as an alchemist. You are learning to work with the power of intention. And intention is desire and action fused together. Desire and action fused together. You begin to work like an alchemist on the mystical stage of surrender. And again, you don't have any preferences. You don't have any sticky attachments to a particular outcome because you know your life is being guided by something higher than you. And this is the phrase that I promised to offer you for you to play this week. And it goes something like this. Beloved, whatever is meant for you will never miss you. Whatever is truly meant for you will never miss you. Take it to heart. Take it to heart. Whatever is being taken out of your life is an act of grace. When you live in surrender to something higher than you, whatever is taken from you is an act of grace. It's because the cost of keeping that thing or the cost of that person staying in your life is much higher to your evolution than them leaving. Or that thing being gone, whether it's a project or a client or an opportunity that you were excited by, really were excited about. When you live as a truly surrendered spiritual being to your higher self, to Divine Mother, to Spirit, whatever is your relationship with the higher intelligence, you remember, whatever is truly yours will never miss it, will never miss you. So there is this lightness in your being, which expresses in your frequency, right? You're not grasping. You're not controlling. You're not trying to, to hold the experience, to keep it in the same way. There is a fluidity in your being, right? There is a spaciousness in your being. There is a curiosity. So if the second stage that is all about self-development and self-empowerment, There can be, the shadow of that stage is impatience. Why my dreams have not come through? On my schedule, I should be there by now, right? On a stage of surrender, you stop caring about that. You actually let go of setting goals. You let go of striving. It's a gradual process. You shed, every void you go in, you shed these outdated layers of the way of being. You remember whatever is meant for you will never miss you. And your desires go through a rebirth at this stage, right? A desire, when you found your security from within, you stop obsessing, chasing security on external, and just like by magic, everything you stop chasing begins to flood your way. Because you create from a 7-dimension level of consciousness where you see your entire life and the processes that are happening. You see it from a mythic level. You see that you're playing out particular archetypes. The archetypes are shifting in the process of your life, right? And each new experience helps you grow in wisdom and expand your consciousness and live your life from the place of true bliss that doesn't depend on anything external. It's a beautiful chapter, beloveds. If you are on the threshold of living your life as a surrender to the divine directives within you, it's not giving up, it's not giving over, it's not about becoming passive. There is nothing passive about it, right? Remember, intention is a desire fused with action. More than anything, when you live surrendered to the creative vision of your higher self, you take even more action. But it's playful. The divine child within you is not afraid to fail or to look foolish. You create because there is joy. So, how do you know which action to take when you are going through this rebirth cycle and your human mind, your egoic mind, the part of your I self, worries about paying bills or, paying rent or any of those things? The first thing to remember is that within every challenge lays the creative solution. The challenge doesn't come to your door, knocks on your door without a hidden solution in it. The greater the challenge, the greater the hidden solution. So the very first step is to still your mind and to enter this deep, deep place of stillness. If you can do it in the morning when you first wake up, if you struggle with meditation, listen to a guided journey. I actually have an incredible program that's called Meditation Bundle that has over 30 different rituals and meditations. If you go to my website, you can find it under the link courses. And the reason I created all of those rituals is because it was not easy for me to enter meditation. My mind was really active. But to follow somebody's voice to the place of stillness and peace, I could do that. So if you resonate with that, start with a guided journey where you enter the place of stillness. And now imagine that you're meeting your higher self and you're bringing this challenge that you're so concerned about, and you ask your higher self, what is the creative solution, dear higher self? And the answer always comes. It spontaneously arises from your subconscious mind, from a deeper part of you that is always at work to give you answers to your questions. When we're only focusing on the problem, our subconscious mind is also involved. When we worry about the problem, beloveds, we lose our power really fast. Not only we drop our vibration, but our subconscious mind says, okay, you want to worry about this problem, let me help you. Let's amplify the worry, right? Your subconscious mind gets to be directed. This is why it's so powerful to learn about your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind gets to be directed. It's here to serve you. So when you focus on the creative solution, knowing that your heart is in the place of gratitude and you say, thank you for this curriculum. I received this sacred curriculum. I am here. Then you ask, what is the creative solution? And usually the creative solution will be this very simple, and it will ask something from you. It will ask you to grow in a new way. That's why the challenge is here. Challenges help us grow in a new way. So the solution might come in the form of, whoa, somebody's face just appeared, and that's your new, that's a person that you get to reach out, because maybe you have a creative solution to their challenge, right? Maybe an idea for a product you get to create in the next 24 hours. And since you have this pressure of your external reality, then you have no room for procrastination. And you actually being invited to step up and lead in your way. The solution always comes. The most important thing is to still your consciousness, so your consciousness becomes like a still lake. When we're concerned about something, our consciousness is like a turbulent sea. And when your consciousness or your mind is like a turbulent sea, it's very challenging to see a creative solution. That is why we still the mind. That is why we come to our heart. That is why we surrender the struggle, the worry, the anxiety, and we say, this is my opportunity to learn how to trust life in a completely new way, in a way that I have not learned how to trust just yet. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause right now. You see Gracie in the background is walking. Oh, what a powerful, I love this topic because, when I remember read the book by Michael Singer, and the book is called Surrender Experiment. And if you haven't read that book, or if you have, it's a good time to pick it up and read it again. It's a story of a man who was a true spiritual seeker. And he left a lot of things behind, like his well-paying corporate job. And the book takes place, 1970. And he moved to the country, to the wilderness, living in a very simple hut to activate his consciousness, right? And he was practicing his spiritual disciplines and meditation and going into the states of bliss 3, 4, 5 hours a day, right? And living very simply. He designed his life dedicating that experience to activate levels of his consciousness, right? And what he found, what he was guided to the mystical stage of surrender, where he started hearing his higher self. And he was invited to not resist what shows up at his life. And when you read his story, it's really, really powerful because his energy and his frequency began expanding more and more and more. People began to get drawn to his energy. And he found himself leading these Sunday meditations without announcing anything. Just people would find him. This is a true spiritual universal power, right? Spiritual power, where our energy begins to attract, right? Magnetize. So when you read his book, it's really beautiful because he was guided to buy the property and build this meditation center. And then he was guided to become a partner in this new developing software, which in turn, so everything was just show up for him, show up. And he would answer yes through surrender. Yes, if it shows up, it's meant for me. Eventually he goes through living like a monk, eating very simply, barely having any money, to becoming this multi-millionaire. And what I love about that story is because the tests that life would give him, you'll read the one story where he got this lawsuit and he almost lost all of the money that he made. So the challenges do not stop coming if you evolve your consciousness to the 7th dimension, 8th dimension, or 9th dimension, right? Every person, who inspires me was given a challenge to go through at different levels of their consciousness. What changes is the way we deal with it. What changes is that we stop being frightened by these challenges. We actually start getting excited because it's like a divine play. It's a divine movie that is unfolding and you are a character in it. And every day is an exciting experience. Wow, I wonder what's going to happen next. Right? So that's what changes, as Richard Rudd said, that I quoted him before. It doesn't matter what happens in your life. What truly matters is how you deal with it. And what is the secret that I shared with you, beloveds, is the secret of gratitude and resistance cannot exist in the same moment. So if you find yourself fighting what's happening, resisting what's happening, and you're like, how do I shift it, Katerina? I'm tired. And I say to you, beloved, gratitude is the fastest way to shift it. And that takes surrender of the ego mind, moving from the mind to the heart, where you say, thank you for this curriculum. My consciousness is maturing. My consciousness is maturing. That's why the challenge is here. And in this challenge lays the creative solution. All I get to do is to still my mind, to make it a still lake. And I will hear the guidance. The guidance is always within us. I will hear the guidance. I will hear the guidance. And you know what? Maybe a person is sent your way that will bring you a guidance. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's a quote. But there is always this guidance that's coming our way. All right. Let me know in the comments, my darlings, what has been in resonance with you, contemplating on this mystical maturation of our consciousness that it's called surrender. Let me know in the comments. I love this topic so dearly because life becomes an adventure. And what kind of adventure is without an unexpected twist on the path? It would be a very boring adventure, right? So in my recent shamanic journey that I was just in, I walk the path of shamanism. And I work with visionary plants and that help me access non-ordinary state of consciousness. In the recent journey, I got to see my higher self came through and the message was, everything is orchestrated for maturation of your consciousness. All the upgrades of your consciousness are pre-scheduled. So you, Katerina, personality self, have no way of playing small. And I was laughing when I came off the journey. I was like, whoa, this is so brilliant. Upgrades are orchestrated on our journey by our higher self. So we have no way of playing small. Playing small, how boring is that, right? So we came here to be all that we can be. And if you are listening to this conversation and topics such as surrender or soul ascension ignites this deep, deep yearning, then you have been on this planet many hundreds of lifetimes. And you definitely did not came here during the time of the Great Awakening to settle for a boring, predictable existence. You came here for adventure. Knowing so well that the allies will come, that the guidance will come, the support will come, and that you also gonna be trained in some advanced curriculum. You didn't come here to learn ABCs of spiritual life. You came here, wow, I'm here on the path of soul ascension. I'm here to awaken my consciousness. Wow, what a unique lifetime. What a unique lifetime. So I'm going to leave you with this, a key phrase that I was offering to you. Whatever is meant for you will never miss you. Whatever is truly meant for you will never miss you. And whatever you've outgrown is meant to leave, to dissolve, to crumble away. It's a natural process of evolution of life. Allow it to happen. Learn to celebrate the unknown. Learn to dance in the rain, in the storm, in the change. I love you dearly. It's always a joy and honor to be with you. This was a deep, deep conversation. And I'm so, so grateful to have an opportunity to share with you what assisted me on this path and what assisted many, many other spiritual beings who are here for their true calling, for their true assignment. So if you just joined, I encourage you to replay it. We're wrapping it up. We're landing this spiritual transmission, and such a delight in my heart to be with you again.